fabulous people, welcome to the channel for all the babes who create their own life trends. My name is Anastasia and today I'm going to share with you things not to do as a tourist in Italy, part 1. Now I promise to you part 2 is coming out right after. I've been living in Rome for many years, and during this time I gathered tons of Italy travel tips that I'll share with you today. Everything from tipping in Italy to Italian dress code. These travel tips are going to be extremely useful, especially if this is going to be your first time in Italy. Now, before we begin, please remember to smack that like button. And if you're new to my channel and my vibe, and the vibe of this channel resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. Alright, fabulous people, let's get started. Alright, fabulous people, the first thing that you should never do in Rome or Italy in general is eat or drink at major historic sites. And that, of course, applies to all the Italian cities. As a matter of fact, Italian cities like Rome, Venice, and Florence are imposing restrictions on what you can and cannot do in Italy at the historic sites. For example, you cannot sit, eat, or drink on the Spanish Steps in Rome, or feed birds in Piazza San Marco in Venice. Also, please keep in mind that you cannot walk shirtless or in your swimwear in any metropolitan area. And in places like Sorrento, you can be fined up to 500 euros for breaching the dress code. And if you plan to visit Italy and go to Sardinia, please make sure that you are not bringing any sand with you back home, because now you can face up to 6 years in prison for doing so. All right, fabulous people, let's light up the mood a little bit. And the second thing that you should not do as a tourist in Italy is try to talk with Italian accent. I know it is very tempting, and I've seen a lot of tourists doing or trying to do so, but please keep in mind that Italians, not all, but some of them, find it extremely offensive, especially if you're trying to say English words with Italian accent. A lot of times they will tell you, I do not talk like this, and you're going to feel awkward. So what I recommend is to learn just a few basic Italian phrases, and it's okay if you're going to pronounce it with your American accent or Canadian accent, or it doesn't matter which country you are coming from. And as a video, I recommend for you to watch my 5 Italian phrases for every occasion in Italy, and that will give you a very good beginning point understanding of what phrases you should be using when you are visiting Italy. And I will make sure to leave that video for you in the description down below. All right, guys, are you with me so far? Let's go to number 3. Number 3 is cutting your pasta with a knife or using spoon to eat your pasta. And I know you've seen it in a lot of American movies, probably thinking that that is the right way to eat your pasta, but as a matter of fact, it is not, and you will quickly realize it as soon as you arrive to Italy. All you will need in Italy to eat your pasta is a fork. And you are probably wondering, Anastasia, so how am I going to eat my pasta with just a fork? I'll explain. It is super simple, and I promise you're going to love your new way of eating pasta. All right, so all you have to do is when your pasta arrives, and by the way, it always arrives in a bowl, not a plate, in a bowl with a wide rim. All you have to do is to separate a few noodles on a fork and then place it against the bottom or the curve of a bowl and twist until your noodles are wrapped around the fork. And that's it. rinse and repeat the process. Super simple, and I promise maybe for the first few minutes you're going to feel maybe a little bit awkward. It's like learning how to eat with chopsticks, but once you learn the way, I promise you will never want to touch knife or spoon to eat your pasta ever again. All right, the next one is something that I'm still getting used to after many years of living in Italy. I'm telling you, America ruins you with that one. And that is a quick customer service. And fabulous people, it's just not going to happen in Italy. So don't even try to rush your waiter with a bill or your order. It is not going to happen. You're only going to make them nervous. That is it. So what I recommend, if you are truly in a rush, maybe you need to get to a tour or a site and you're just on that kind of time crunch, then I recommend to get up and go to the register and pay there. That is one of the tricks, hacks that I learned after living in Italy for many years. If you cannot get your waiter's attention and you really need to go, then go to the register and pay there. All right, I hope it helps. Moving on to the next tip. All right, fabulous people, tip number 5, I think. So the next one is smiling at strangers or saying hello to them. And I know in the States, we are used to that, right? It's kind of a polite thing to do. As soon as you lock your eyes with someone, you kind of smile. It's an automatic thing. And I'm still guilty of doing that in Italy. I think it's just part of me at this point. But please do not be surprised if you smile at someone and you're going to get that kind of very awkward look from Italians like what are you doing? So if you want to avoid this kind of awkward situation, then just don't mind them. You don't have to smile at them. You don't have to say hello. You don't have to, if you don't have to, don't acknowledge them. Everyone kind of in Italy in their own bubble, in their own world. And another thing that I hear a lot of times from people who are visiting Italy is that it kind of surprises them when they walk on the street and someone kind of hits them with a shoulder and they don't apologize, they just keep walking. That is Italy. Not that they are rude, it's not part of their culture. All the spaces are super small, be it in the supermarkets, pharmacies, streets, all of that. So they're just not used to constantly looking at each other, making eye contact with each other, saying hello, saying I'm sorry, because probably otherwise they would be just doing that all day long. All right, I talk about this next thing a lot in a lot of my videos, but that is expecting that things are going to be on time in Italy, especially public transportation, and it is not going to happen. For example, here in Italy, we have a lot of protests, so it is normal for you to get up, let's say, in the morning, go to work, or in your case, go to a site or want to get to the site, only to find out that metro station, that particular metro station or entire metro is just closed. It is also normal for you to come to the bus station only to find out that your bus is running 30 minutes late and then sometimes even 1 hour late, or sometimes they just decide not to come at all. So what I recommend, if you have to be somewhere at a certain time because maybe you're going on a tour or you have to be at a certain site at a specific time, what I recommend is to give yourself plenty of time if you plan on using public transportation, or you can walk there or take a cab. And if you plan on traveling Italy by train, then definitely make sure to give yourself more than 10 to 15 minute window for the train change. Because a lot of times, especially regional trains, will be running late, unfortunately. So make sure to give yourself plenty of time for the train change. And if you need a good guide on the train system in Italy, I have an excellent video for you, how to travel Italy by train, that breaks down the entire process step by step. So I will make sure to leave that video for you in the description down below. All right, the next thing is something that I get asked all the time, and I'm sure you all want to know, or y'all. I'm joking. I had to say it just because, I grew up in North Carolina, so, but that is tipping in Italy. So, Anastasia, do I tip? Do I not tip? What is the deal? And let me clear this in this video, hopefully once and for all, but of course, I'm happy to talk about it more. And that is, you do not tip in Italy. Unless you really want to. It's not going to be rude if you do, but you have to remember that in restaurants, waiters here in Italy, they do have set salaries. And a lot of times when you see a waiter, maybe you assume that this is kind of his or her seasonal job or a student job. And no, here in Italy, being a waiter is a profession. That is something that you do your entire life. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people. So they do have set salaries. So if you do want to thank your waiter because he or she gave you that extraordinary service, then yes, absolutely. But there is not a certain amount that you have to live, or you don't have to live anything at all. And even if you leave €2, that's already a lot. That is already kind of your way of saying thank you. And the same goes for pretty much all the services in Italy, including taxes. So please don't feel obligated if you took a cab in Italy to leave a tip. So you can, but you don't have to. I hope that clears out the entire thing. Moving on to the next one. Don't expect for authentic Italian restaurants to be open between 3 p.m. and 6:30, 7 p.m. It's just not going to happen. They do shut down for that time period to rest and to prep everything for the evening. And that is why all your dishes always come out so amazing. Unless you're in a tourist trap, of course. So make sure that you are planning your meals accordingly and you plan them ahead of time. And of course, if you find yourself in a situation where, let's say, you're just done with a tour and you are starving and everything is closed, you can always go to a street food place and grab yourself a slice of pizza or a sandwich. Those places will be open. So don't worry, it's not like the entire city is going to shut down, but the restaurants, good authentic restaurants, will be closed. Now, fabulous people, talking about tours and Italian food, I actually have an exciting announcement for you. Now, as most of you know, I have 2 food tours here in Rome that my incredible team runs for me. I have a day food tour and an evening food tour, but now due to the limited availability of those tours, I wanted, of course, to make sure that all of you can try all those amazing hidden gems that I have my visitors enjoy. Those of you who already done my food tours, you guys know those are true gems. So now I created virtual tour for you guys, actually 2 virtual tours for now, but I am adding more and more of those. So in those virtual tours, you are able by yourself to go to every single place that I do during my food tours. And for example, during the day tour, you start at a local bakery with a fresh cornetto and cappuccino. And then I will tell you where to go for some of the best cheeses and meats in Rome. It's one of the oldest stores in entire Rome. And then you go to a street food place, and then for lunch, and then for dessert. So all those places now you can do by yourself. And of course, I'm telling you exactly in those virtual tours what you should order, why this place is so famous among locals. And in addition to that, you have a map with all those places, so it's easy for you to follow. And guys, I just think it's honestly such an excellent solution if you cannot join one of my food tours, or you want to explore Rome and Roman food scene by yourself. This guide is going to give you all of those amazing stops. And I have the same one for the evening time, where I recommend places to go for aperitivo, and then of course for dinner and dessert and street food. And I plan on releasing more guides on the best pizza places in Rome, and of course best gelato places. And I will also make sure to break down some of the best spots by neighborhood, be it Spanish Steps, Trastevere, Monte, etc. So make sure that you're checking those guides, because I gathered some of my absolute favorite spots for you. And yeah, take advantage of those guys. And of course, I will make sure to leave a link to those virtual tours in the description down below. And in the meantime, you and I are moving to tip number 9, I think. And that one has to do with visiting Italian household. Now, if you get invited for a lunch or dinner by an Italian family, do not come empty-handed. Make sure that you bring something with you. Now, it doesn't have to be anything expensive, but a nice bottle of wine or a dessert will go a long way. So make sure to bring something with you. All right, and tip number 10. Now, if you're going to Italy for the first time, this one might actually surprise you, but you will learn very quickly that Italian dress code is not something to play with. Italians pay a lot of attention to what you wear and how you wear it. So if you plan on going to a nice, elegant Italian restaurant, make sure that you are not wearing a t-shirt or shorts, and that you just look put together. It is extremely important, because throughout the years, I personally seen how people who want to dine at a nice, beautiful restaurants were declined an entrance just based on the way they looked, meaning what they were wearing. And of course, it might seem unfair or unacceptable, but this is Italian culture, guys. You're here, so definitely make sure to put some effort into dressing up, especially if you're going to a nice place in Italy. And that, of course, includes nightclubs and beautiful terraces. So in Italy, put a little extra effort into what you are wearing. If you're not sure about Italian dress code, don't worry, I got you. As a stylist in Italy, I have tons of videos on fashion in Italy, including what not to wear in Italy, what to wear in Italy, broken down by each season. So if you check those out before you start packing for Italy, you will find all the answers to all of your questions. And of course, you can always ask me in the comments down below, and I will leave those videos that I just talked about in the description. All right, fabulous people, thank you so much for watching this Italy travel guide on what not to do in Italy part 1. Now, before you go, please remember to smack that like button. And if you're new to my channel and my vibe, and the vibe of this channel resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. And I truly hope to see you all in my part 2.